Republicans' answers to economic questions are, we need to subsidize oil and gas more. And the other 50% of their answers are, we need to tax the rich less. That's literally it. And yet we still pay out the ass for gasoline. I'm going to hit you with it, folks. Good! We pay less for gasoline than like anyone in Europe does. We already subsidize the fuck out of it. It should be more expensive. Get on a fucking bus. Get on a bicycle, fatty. Mush! $20 a gallon. Maybe if gas wasn't so artificially cheap, we could actually invest in public transit rather than letting everyone rely on... You know how expensive it is for every single American to have 1 or 2 cars? Do you have any idea how fucking inefficient it is for everyone's mode of transportation to be a collective, like, $80,000 of metal that you have to constantly fuel and refuel and repair and so on and so forth? This is such a city take. Yeah, it is, motherfucker, because cities are the future and you're in the past. Go drag your wagon, okay? Go take 2.5 days along the forest trail. Bring your fucking vegetables to market, okay? Fuck you. This is such a city take. Oh, no, I'm a rural American and I think we should subsidize gas more. Fuck you. But it takes longer to do public transit and also COVID. COVID's not real. It never existed. It was all a dream. Wake up. That wasn't a rural take, that was a suburban take. That is so true, by the way. Whenever you hear people be like, I live in rural America and we actually need car, you're listening to a suburbanite who has to drive 30 minutes to get to their local fucking Safeway, okay? 100% you are. Sometimes you just gotta put a little bit of negative pressure on folks. If gas was more expensive, maybe we'd stop building our cities like fucking morons. I mean, do you think it's a coincidence that in America and Canada, gas prices are kept relatively low and we have giant, disgusting, like sprawled out nonsense city planning and like rural planning? And then you go over, like, dude, because I did when I went to Spain, fly over Germany, okay? Even the rural German villages are 20 times as dense. Like the American style of rural, where you have like a 500 population highway, like off the road. Here's where you stop to get a glory hole blowjob and $9 eggs and bacon or whatever, and then a bunch of like defunct farms spread out around it, like a bunch of like useless farm. You ever get the feeling, by the way, that a lot of the farmland in America is bullshit? The real farms, the ones that are actually putting out the food people eat, the ones that are run by megacorps and staffed largely by undocumented immigrants, those are like so large you can see them from space, okay? But then you drive through like western Idaho, and it's not really farmland, it's just fences around dead land. And you get the feeling that like maybe 100 years ago there was a proud family harvesting turnips here or whatever, but then like no one there's working. They're too busy doing meth and, I don't know, fucking their cousins. There's no nobility, and I fuck rural America. I spit on you. You aren't the proletariat. I've driven through rural America. You fuckers are all lumpen proles. I don't respect you. You can find the real proletariat in cities lining up outside of soup kitchens. Fuck you. Yeah, I huck Tua on you. I'm sorry. You're a retard. That's called pasture. Yeah, I love it when I drive past what looks to be like 2 square miles of enclosed pasture, and then I like finally, after driving alongside it for 30 seconds, I see the 2 sickly looking horses that are like staring longingly at the highway from the other side of the fence, you know? And I know fully well that if I stopped and at that fucking farm, at that pasture, and knocked on the door and talked to the person there, it's some pedophilia shit or it's some child abuse shit, or probably both, okay? I guarantee you, I guess that would be both, definitionally. I'm guaranteeing you, man, okay? You get shot immediately. Yeah, well, if I survived the shooting, I'd be like, I survived your bullet, and he'd be like, yeah, just how I survived the fucking, you know, the CPS getting called on me 6 times because my child was found with bruises underneath her shirt when I sent them to the local school. Then I pulled them out and homeschooled them. Fuck you! The smaller farms are often just growing subsidized corn. Okay, to be clear, everyone here understands the kind of rural area that I'm talking about, right? There is a ton of it in the Pacific Northwest. It's not like agriculturally useful land. It's just people owning large chunks of territory they don't do anything with. In Cali, too. Depending on the part of Cali, yeah. Common in the West. It's called a ranch? No, because a ranch implies some kind of economic productivity. I'm sorry. Look, okay, if I enclosed my lawn with a fence, I would not call it a ranch, all right? Like, a ranch has to imply some degree. If you've got fucking 100 acres in your territory, and the only thing that's going down at your place is child abuse, and, like, occasionally dejectedly feeding the 3 cows that roam around there like awaiting death, then I'm sorry. No. Ranching is a job, motherfucker. I see this in NorCal, like Yuba City. It's probably a lot less common over on the East Coast because that area has been settled for a lot longer by Americans. So it's possible that, like, because over on the West, we had homesteading. So over here, like, literally, it was policy that it was the America wanted people to settle the Western states. So it was like, yeah, go on there. First person to this plot of land. It gets the territory. Like, a lot of this was just kind of like ramshackle, whoop, you know, throw it on out there. And as a consequence, there were a lot of houses that were built out there that were literally built in like 1867 or something, you know, but they're not incorporated into any kind of like productive agriculture. You're describing Ohio, man. Yeah. It's rough. It's rough. And nobody likes living in these places. Can we be clear about that? Nobody likes living in places like this. Nobody does. There are rural areas that are cool and like invigorating, and there's nice productive stuff you can do out there. But no one is out there in fucking bumfuck Methsville or you know, Fentanyl Town like super happy about. That's one of the reasons why rural Americans are so defiant to city folk, because they feel like they're looked down upon, you know. It's not pride for their region, it's like spiteful oppositional like, you know, how dare you say we're worse than you, even though we are in literally every possible way you could measure any kind of development. It's like a fucking third world country in Western Idaho, man. I don't know, I loved living in rural PA, TBH. Again, it's not all rural areas. I've been in rural areas that are not like that. I'm just telling you, man. Whatever, you get it or you don't, okay? This is why you don't grossly generalize. It's a country of 350 million people. You have to speak in broad generality. If I said like, broadly speaking, Somalia is a poor country, and some motherfuckers in chat are like, actually the, you know, X neighborhood, which has been around since the mid 60s and was an escape haven for immigrants from another like neighboring nation. Actually, they built quite a nice, like, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, quit being fucking contrarian, fuck you. God damn it, fuck you. Vaush, I live in a small Midwestern town, and there's literally nothing to do within a 30-minute drive except drugs and alcohol. We have a bowling alley, and that's it. Other Midwesterners, you've got a bowling alley? I was about to say that, yeah, like, oh, what's this guy complaining about, man? Man, you're literally looking down on them now, lol. Yeah, I do. Unironic classism. I mean, in the sense that I think that, like, America is a better or more prosperous country than, I don't know, Zimbabwe. Like, if you look at the numbers, I feel like we probably have more Disneylands, for one. We probably have more Denny's. I haven't looked this up. I assume this is true. If you'd consult the numbers. Trust me, most of us rural folk would love to live in a city like Seattle, especially young people. How the fuck am I supposed to move with negative 95 in my bank account? No. That's my point. I'm not looking down on you, man. You are the proletariat. You're the noble spirit of the West. You're out here. I'm reaching out to you through the screen, okay? I'm with you on this. My problem is that it's the same with, like, it's the same that I said about the introvert or the loner thing, where some people will convince themselves that they're just meant to be miserable or whatever. There's, like, this really obnoxious sentiment in America, and probably Canada as well, because they've got a lot of the same urban development shit, where it's like, no, actually, we like our shitty, giant, sprawling, economically unproductive, filled with drug deaths and alcohol, nothing to do, nowhere to go, rural areas, you know? We like that stuff. And it's not like that in a lot of other parts of the world, man. There are rural areas of, like, France and Germany that just do not have the type of design that ours do, that desolate characteristic. Like, there's a different, it's hundreds of years of different city planning, or I guess like rural planning, you know? Yeah, I'm stuck here. Never lose hope, okay? I just want to be clear. If you're in the rural areas of the Midwest or Western Idaho or whatever the fuck else, I love you. But let's not pretend. Can we not pretend? Okay? Can we not pretend? Like, come on. Within a city, like in Los Angeles, if you're like, yeah, man, I grew up in Skid Row, but then I got to move over to West Hollywood. Nobody's like, oh, well, you know, I don't look down on Skid Row. So, no, fuck, we all know Skid Row shit. So, with the rural thing, it's like, I don't know. It's like, yes, rural America's kind of fucking dog shit in every measurable way. And then people are like, no, you're going after the proletariat. No, I'm not, dude. No more than I'm going after the proletariat in Skid Row when I say, wow, Skid Row's kind of shit, man. like it just is. You can acknowledging it is the first step to it getting better, is what I'm saying. Suburban or rural, what's worse? Well, suburbia has like the money to make things politically worse, I feel. So also suburbia is closer to me. It does fucking suck being stuck out here. I wish we had a cafe or literally anything else but a bat. But a bat. Yes. I take everything mean back. I completely agree with you. Keep it. By the way, nobody comes after me when I say that American suburbia is dog shit, by the way, because everyone's like, yeah, fuck those McMansion pieces of shit. But then like you go after rural America, which in a lot of ways has the same attributes, but worse when it comes to like the availability of public amenities and the political disposition. And people are like, no, somebody who has never been to rural America, have to pretend that this is like a fight I need to fight. I'm generalizing a little too much here, I feel. They're convinced that cities are loud and you have no privacy in cities. I would actually argue you have the privacy of anonymity in cities. In rural areas where like everyone knows everyone, you can't do shit without people hearing about it because there's nothing to do in rural areas except gossip and die of drug overdoses. Fucking who's gossiping about who in cities, man? You think I've got time to give a shit about you? I can go play laser tag if I was 15. I can go to the pier. You know, I can go to a fucking sex club in Cap Hill, probably. I've never gone, but I assume they exist. It's Cap Hill, you know, those folks are wild. Like, I don't got, but in a rural area, catch me, like, gossiping about the fucking scandalous mid-thigh dress that I saw my neighbor of my entire life wearing at the one local restaurant. If you want an example of how little privacy rural towns had, I couldn't even get on Grindr because people would go on there to troll and tell everyone if you found somebody there. Yeah, it's really scary, genuinely. Genuinely. Yes, you are, Vaush. You generalize about rural areas so much, and as someone who grew up here, it's frustrating. My small town childhood was hell, and I was constantly being surveilled by my parents' network of narcs and busybodies, but the fresh air is something lol. Wait, yes, you are, Vaush. You generalize about rural areas so much, and as someone who grew up here, it's frustrating. Wait, it sounds like you agree with me. You're saying that it's frustrating that I generalize, but then you're saying that your experiences conformed to the generalizations that I'm saying. Socialist strongholds in America have been historically rural. Yeah, historically rural, not contemporarily rural. There's a reason for that. In the 1960s, country music got psyoped. Sorry, I don't make the rules, okay? And then we lost the rural population. The generalizations are frustrating, but the broader point is correct. Listen, okay, next time I do a tangent like this, I'll say more mean stuff about, like, urbanites, okay? I'll say more mean stuff about the cosmopolitan coastal elite. All I'm saying is, listen, if you're out there in the rural boonies, I see you, I hear you, I love you. I hope one day you find a place where you can, I don't fucking know, like, go to something other than a bowling alley, okay? I love you. And the first step to making that possible is making gas $20 a gallon. There we go. Vaush versus farmers lol. Clan rat, you gotta know, and this is the last thing I'm saying because this is a misconception that really gets on my nerves. Farmers aren't proletariat. You own the farm. That's what a farmer is. Farm hands are proletariat. And a lot of farm hands in America are undocumented immigrants who are packed into fucking, like, slave sheds right off the fucking agricultural territory. The farmers, in many cases, are either part of the megacorp or they're like petite bourgeois monsters, you know? Farmers as a political class are Hitlerites. Farm hands as a political class can't vote. So, for real though, Vaush, wasn't there a thing in Soviet Ukraine like this or something? The kulaks? Look, we don't need to get into that. All I'm gonna say, I'm not saying they had it coming, because they didn't. All I'm gonna say is that, how do I thread the needle on this one? I don't think the Holodomor was justified. You know, I think millions of people dying as a consequence of deliberately incompetent Soviet agricultural planning and food distribution is bad. However, if the Holodomor hadn't happened and instead some of those guys had maybe gotten like a little bit arrested maybe, but millions of people hadn't died, all right, it may be an improvement, perhaps, I'd say. Strongest Stalin supporter. This is as much as I could qualify my statement as possible. I see what you're, yeah, you know, we're not doing the Holodomor denial, okay? We're just saying that, you know, some of the kulaks were demonstrably pieces of shit. That doesn't mean millions should die. What are your thoughts on farmhand labor costs? Big raise for price increases. As someone who works for my family's small restaurant, this could potentially crush us. Okay, how do you think Barcelona manages to have 50,000 restaurants and cafes per square foot, and the prices there are half what the prices are here in America? The answer is that the cities are designed in such a way that people are able to easily traverse them on foot and stop in those restaurants and cafes at their pleasure. That's what I did when I was in Barcelona. In America, how often are you just leisurely walking around an area and then you see a restaurant and you go in? It happens. I'm not saying it doesn't, but usually you do it on the main commercial row, right? Like in the area you're in, there's like a big street and it has restaurants on both sides. There's people milling on the sidewalk and you're like, ah, this is where the restaurants are. You can dip into a restaurant. In my experience personally, even in large cities like Seattle or in Los Angeles, usually you still plan out the restaurant visit. And I'm speaking from the perspective of somebody who spent his entire life in major cities. If I was in like a smaller town, yeah, no, you're not walking around and finding the restaurant. The truth is, it's difficult to keep a restaurant alive here in America because no one goes to restaurants. I know that sounds dumb, but if the only way people go to restaurants is by driving to them and going to their parking lot and like making a reservation or whatever else, like you have a restaurant in mind, you don't stop by new ones. And if you don't stop by new ones, all of the restaurant activity is concentrated in a few hyper busy restaurants that are always seeing traffic. And then there are other restaurants literally a block off Main Street that never get any attention at all because nobody casually walks by them. In Barcelona, there were restaurants everywhere. Everywhere. Like, you don't need to be on the main row. You don't need to be in La Rambla in order to get into a restaurant easily. You can be in any part of the city, basically, as long as you're in the, like, general urban, like, city core and not in the fringes. You can just, you're, like, a second away from a restaurant, you know? You can just walk right in there. So basically what I'm saying is there are a lot of interconnected problems when it comes to like cost and labor and stuff. But I think generally speaking, it's kind of fucked up that Americans have some of the highest average income in the world. And all we spend it on is cancer treatments, car payments, and like our children's college tuition funds, you know? Like, in Europe, do you think they're capable of thinking that far ahead? Of course not. They're Europeans. All they can think of is their next siesta. They get their $5 paycheck at the end of every 2 weeks, and then they're like, oi, caramba! And then they walk 2 minutes from their house, and they go to a cafe and get a 50-cent, like, coffee that's better than anything you can get in America. And then they're done with it by the end of the 2 weeks, but then they get another $5, and they're happy, you know? I genuinely think there's something to the simple kind of, you know, pastoral life. That's what it is. It's pastoral, right? Much as the LARPing Midwestern rural Americanoid allows the malnourished horses to graze listlessly from the 50 acres of land that their parents great-great-great-grandparents homesteaded in 18 whatever the fuck, okay? Europeans are like dumb animals that wander around the big open pasture of their city, and rather than eating grass, they go to the cafes and restaurants, which are distributed with about the frequency of blades of grass. It's a simple life, and I think it's earnest, and it makes them happy. And I think we could learn a little bit from that. You're thinking of hobbits, mate? I'm thinking of Europeans and hobbits a little bit. I admit I may be blending the... Do they have fiber optic cable? I think they do have fiber internet in some parts of Europe. Wait, coffees cost 50 cents in Europe, Vaush. They cost me $13 at Starbucks. The best sandwich I ever had in my life was a sobrasada sandwich from the Merlot Cafe at the base of the Sagrada Familia in Barcelona. And the sandwich was €5, and the coffee that I got with it was €2. And the espresso martini that I had with that was €4. And I got absolutely trashed and stumbled around the Sagrada Familia. And it was the happiest I've ever been in my entire life. Trashed on coffee? Espresso martini. That's kind of expensive. It was at the base of La Sagrada Familia. That was the tourist cost. That wasn't even like the regular Barcelona cost. That was the cafe that it was at the base of the basilica. Do you have any idea what anything costs anywhere near a quote-unquote cool area? Dude, the pier in Seattle sucks shit. There's nothing to do with the pier, but good luck getting a fucking meal over there. Holy shit. Oh, the fucking $28 entree of fish that somehow tastes stale, even though we are literally at the pier of the Puget Sound. You know? Oh, well, you're right by the pier, man. How long have we been here, lol? You will never make me not care about good city design. You will never know what was taken from you. You know why your life sucks? It's because the fucking fossil fuel lobby built this entire country to burn up gasoline. This entire fucking country was turned into a racetrack so you troglodytes can burn fucking 3 gallons of gasoline on your daily commute, not stop by a cafe, not graze pastorally at the delicious restaurant where the entree is $7. This was all taken from you by big business, by oil and coal. And who's up here on stage with the fucking NABJ telling you guys that black people's inflation's gonna go down if only we subsidize the fossil fuel industry more? Know your enemy! Remember what they took from you. We're going forward now.
12 seconds later.
I'm sorry, we're not moving forward yet. We had to do the nuke. Elliot Kaufman. Sorry, hold on 1 second. Calculating, hold on. Getting your phrenology, getting your age. Zip. There it is. It's all in my head now. Watch yourself. As smart as Vaush is, he's so smooth-brained and short-sighted about this, lol. Why tell people to leave rural America when we could be pushing to make it better? Leave if you can, but it's not a fix. I never said people should leave. First of all, wait, hold on. I should clarify. I do think you should leave because it sucks. But I never said that. I only thought it in my head, where you couldn't read it, motherfucker. You don't have my superpowers. I do think you should leave. Fixing this will take a long time. This is like a long-term problem, you know? I do think the rural America could be made a lot better, you know? I mean, literally, all you have to do is Google German village, which the right-wingers are always like soying over, and you can see beautiful, beautiful examples of what rural design can look like if your cities were not completely designed by the oil and gas, fossil fuel mega conglomerates. Whoa, you're telling me that they build out their rural areas like actual villages with a definite city core and the houses tightly packed, and then all the farmland and ranches sort of stretch out from there? So that way all of your, like, you know, daily needs where you want to socialize or get stuff can be taken care of right here. And then if you have farms or anything else you want to take care of, you go out and actually do that work. That's crazy. It's almost like the way humans have been doing things for thousands of years. Sorry. Basically, I'm saying we should return to tradition. Meanwhile, in American rural environments, what's the difference here, folks? What's the difference? Hey, chat, what's the difference? Can you tell what the difference is in this just like regular rural American town? These are all commercial buildings. Car-centric infrastructure, parking lots. You drive into town to get your stuff done, but the houses are further out. It's all made for cars. No one's walking around. You see anyone walking around? Would you want to walk around here? You want to walk around here? Do you want to walk around here? Me, I do. I do. Chat, raise your hand if you want to walk around here. Yes. Yes, please. Because you have mixed zoning. You have the urban, you have the commercial and the residential packed in here so people can live together, you know? But over here, everyone lives out in these fucking sprawled out, you have to drive 25 minutes to get into town. Okay, I'm sorry. I feel like I've made my point. Hopefully you all understand what I'm getting on about. I'm only saying this because I love you. I hope you know that. I just want better for... I get emails from, like, rural Americans who are like, hey, I'm trans and my parents would kill me if they found out, and also I'm in the middle of nowhere and everything sucks and it's bad. And what do I respond to it? What, like, I look at that and I'm like, bide your time and wait, man. Just fucking keep a swear jar and dump all those quarters on a cheapo, like, share with a roommate $300 a month studio apartment somewhere in the periphery of your nearest actual city, you know? It's really depressing. I want it to be better, man. I want it to be better. It's not even necessarily about, like, living in a giant megacity. It's just about the design of the country that I live in. Okay, this time, editors, cut!